talk about the second thing, and it comes to do with the same property that we got down in Mesa. Now there is a tenant in the property. The tenant has, stuff everywhere. There's a tenant, and then there's another guy that has an RV on the side yard that's living in the RV on the side of the house. So the buyer of this property, we found the buyer, wants the property vacant before close of escrow, meaning he wants the property vacant. He wants to be able to walk the property, have see the possession, be able to know that it's vacant. He doesn't want to buy the property with a tenant and then have to deal with any type of evictions or anything like that. So the buyer wants the property vacant, and we have a seller, right, that does not have a good relationship. That tenant does not have a good relationship with the seller. They don't communicate. They don't like each other. The tenant thinks the seller's screwing him over, and the tenant's like, I'm not moving anywhere. Good luck. You can't evict me because of the eviction moratorium that's out right now. So good luck. You're not evicting me, right? So that's the tenant's communication to us about the property and about the situation, what they told the seller and what they told us. Forget it. Over a phone call. We're not moving. That's it. Forget it. We're done. Good luck. And if he goes to eviction, we're going to fight him all the way, and we're going to win. You won't get me out for a while. So they were digging in, and they were going to stay in the property, and they were paying rent. That wasn't the issue. But the guy can't sell the property, and we can't sell the property. So we have a deadlock. We have a buyer that wants the property vacant, fully understandable, because he wants to fix and flip the property, and he doesn't want to deal with the tenant when you essentially can't evict because this whole eviction moratorium, right? So now the moratorium is said to be on government housing, but there's still not evictions happening right now in Phoenix, unless there's squatting or something like that. So that being said, we're stuck. We're in a deadlock. Buyer wants the property vacant. Tenant saying, forget it. The seller's like, you figure it out, or we're going to have to kill the deal. So what do we do? What do you do in that situation? What do you do when you have a tenant that's dug in, they're not moving, they don't hate the seller, they're about, just forget it, I'm not doing anything, and you get a buyer that's not going to budge, right? The buyer's like, I'll take it vacant, that's my terms, conditions, take it or leave it. So what do you do in that situation? How do you make that deal work? How do you get it closed, right? How do you get that deal closed? And I can tell you, this has come up more times than not. It's come up in our virtual deals across the country. It's come up in our local deals, local here because you have tenants in properties. We got that deal in Santa Barbara that up there. I was in Dana Point, California. I drove up to Santa Barbara just to deal with the tenants in the property to make sure that they moved out of the property, and I had to go back and I secured up the property. I changed the locks on the property, got everything done. The bottom line is you're going to see this happen. It's happening already. I guarantee if you've been doing deals, you've already run into it already. So what's the solution? What's the solution? The solution is you have to use your negotiation skills to negotiate with the seller. So this other wholesaler, I agreed. I came back, like I said, about a week and a half ago, and I was back for a couple days, and I agreed to meet him down at the property on a Saturday. So we drove up, pulled in front of the house, had an appointment with the seller. The seller came outside. She's in probably her mid to late 60s and very outspoken, very, very loud, outspoken, and matter of fact, right? So, what did we do? Well, we started talking. We started talking about, about the situation, and we let her dump on the whole situation. Why the seller's an idiot, what the situation is, this guy's living on the side yard that she doesn't even know in the RV, that this, that, and the other, and yada yada yada. I'll spare you all the details. But for about a half hour to potentially 45 minutes, she went on and on and on and on about how crappy the place is and how he's not taking care of it, and how her daughter is, sick because of all of this and that, and a big mess. I said, well, why do you want to stay here? If it's so bad and the landlord's so bad and he's not taking care of this stuff, why do you want to stay here? And he goes, we don't want to stay here. We want to, I want to live on this part of town, and I want to live in this neighborhood. So you've already found the neighborhood? Yeah. I said, what's keeping you from moving? I said, well, right now my husband's not working right now. We've got limited cash, and we got some money tied up we can't touch, and this, that, and the other. And I said, so okay, what what'd be the minimum cash you think it would take for you to move? And now it becomes, we built rapport. She dumped everything. We found out what she wanted. She found out she wanted to move. The sticking point was money, right? So in it, 99.9% of the time is the money and the time. It's the money and the time is the issue, right? So we have the time issue of how long it's going to take to move everything out, because we can't close until then. And then we get a money issue. So first off, we said, well, what do you think? What do you think? What's the minimum cash you think you need to move? And she said $7,000, $8,000 to get everything in, to get a moving truck, to get everything, to get over and move. Okay, that's her number. And how long do you think it'd take? Oh, minimum 60 days. Minimum 60 days. $7,000, $8,000, $7,500, $8,000, and minimum, at least 60 days to get everything out. Okay, that's our starting point. That's where we start the negotiation. Well, I'm sitting there talking to her. I'm building friends over there, talking to her, and saying, listen, we're going to see what we can do to help you. We're going to see how we're going to help you figure out how we can get this done so you can win, you can get some cash, you can move out, but we're going to have to work together. It's a compromise back and forth. Her name's Kathy. So I said, Kathy, I said, listen, you've got to work with me on this, right? If you're flexible, we can work. I can go to bat for you, and I can see what I can make happen for you. So I got her on my side that we're going to work together. I said, okay, $7,500, $8,000, that's pretty excessive for moving, right? Well, she goes, well, I need first and last month rent and this, that, and the other, da, da, da. So what's a minimum of that? So I basically got it down from about $7,500 to $8,000 down to $3,800. $3,800, and she'd move, she'd be off. Now we have a time issue of 60 days. Oh, at least minimum 60 days, this, that, and the other, da, 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 da. I said, so I took it from 60 days down to 2 weeks. 2 weeks comes up next week, right? I think it's either this week or maybe I think it's like Monday or Tuesday of next week. Sure, 2 weeks is up, and she already signed a cash for keys, all the agreement to move out, and she's already started packing and moving stuff out now. So $3,800, and I got it from basically 2 months, 60 days, down to 2 weeks in agreement. So I got her agreement. We worked, we went back and we went forth, we went back and forth from 60 down to 30, 30 down to a week up to 2 weeks, back and forth, and $3,800. So we basically got an agreement. So I'm like, Kathy, okay, listen, we got $3,800 in 2 weeks. Can you make that happen? Yes. If I can make this happen, where you be willing to sign a document basically stating you'll accept $3,800, you'll be out 2 weeks. Yes. I got her commitment, got her committed, shook her hand on it, got everything done, committed. We got the paperwork, wrote it up, got her to sign it, right? Then who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay the $3,800? Well, it's not going to come out of our spread, right? Again, we've got to negotiate. So what did we do? We went back to the seller. We said, listen, here's the situation. They're dug in. They don't like you. They don't like the situation. They're dug in and they're not moving. And guess what? You're going to have to go all the way. As soon as they lift the eviction moratorium, which is probably not going to be that till the end of the year. Then you're going to have to hire an attorney. That's going to cost you $500 to $1,000. Then you're going to have to go through the eviction process. Then once they're essentially evicted, then you're going to have a constable to actually get them out of the property because they're dug in, they're not moving anywhere, and they're not going to get it done. So that's choice one, Mr. Seller. It'll probably cost you a couple $1,000, and you're not going to be able to sell the property till probably probably the beginning part, probably first quarter of 2021. That's choice one. Choice two is we got the seller to agree to be out in 2 weeks, but it's $3,800. So which do you want to do? For us, it doesn't matter. We got a ton of different properties we're working with right now, and honestly, we can revisit and get back with you in early part of 2021, or you can have the rest of your cash, which is to the tune of about $150,000 he's getting. The rest of your cash in 2 weeks. What do you want to? And you don't have to deal with the tenant. We'll deal with them. We'll make sure they're out. We got everything completed. We got a written agreement with them. If you want to honor it, we can get it done. What do you want to do? And he's like, get it done. Boom. So we sent him an addendum, reducing the purchase price by $3,800 and giving her a cashier's check of $3,800 to be held at escrow. So that whole deal, completely south, deadlock, seller wanted to sell, tenant deadlock, eviction moratorium, right? We still got this guy in the site. So we went and talked to him. He's a mess. Went and talked to him, told him he's got a week to be off the property, or we're gonna call the police, right? So he moved his stuff. He's already off the property right now. So now Kathy is getting their stuff and moving out, and I think they'll be out by early next week. So the bottom line is, when you have a situation, whether it be liens on title, judgments, whether it be tenants that are in tough situations, and you're in deadlock situations, and you just want to throw the deal away, right? There's always a solution if you find out what people want. She didn't really want to be there. So when I was negotiating with her, I said, listen, you're telling me you would rather stay here, right? Stay here and live where you're at, dealing with all this, dealing with the mess, still paying or dealing all this stuff, because we were stuck like on $5,000, and I was like, you're doing all that for $1,200? I mean, $3,800 will get you. And we went back and forth, and finally we agreed on $3,800, and she was happy with it, and signed all the paperwork, and off to the races. So you're going to have deals like this. You're going to have deals that with sellers, with tenants, with situations, and there has to be a negotiation. With the one up in Santa Barbara, I actually drove up there and I met the tenants, and I actually helped them move their stuff out. I helped them move some of their stuff out of the property. And then while they were there, as they got the last of the stuff out, I changed the locks on the entire property. So those are things that you'll have to do. One happened to be in Santa Barbara, the other one happened to be down here in Mesa, Arizona, just a couple deals. But what do you do when you have a property that's, we got so many deals that are all over the place right now. But you have to have communication with whatever the source of that sticking point is, whether it be the seller, whether it be the buyer situation. Now, if they weren't going to budge, now our next would have been an attempt with the buyer and try to get either if he wanted a price reduction, we're going to have to get it from turn around and get that from the seller. So if the buyer said, listen, you give me a $5,000 price reduction, I'll deal with the tenant, I'll get it closed ASAP. You don't have to deal with them. You give me $5,000 and it's a deal. Well, guess what? Now I'm going back to the seller and I'm getting that $5,000. So that is how we deal. And it was fun negotiating with it. And after, we're all laughing, right? She's happy. She has a solution. She feels better. The other wholesalers down there, I did all the talking and negotiating. He's like, dude, he goes, no wonder you get so many deals, right? because you just negotiate. And because if you get people to like and trust you, and they like you, and they understand that you're there to try to help the situation and solve it, um, it you can, amazing things can happen. Amazing things can happen as long as you're there to try to help people in the situation, trying to help them out of their situation, right?